Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And today is Memorial Day Celebration 173. And Michael will talk a little bit about that here in a moment. And we are waiting for people to call in. David's already with us. Dr. Tim's not on yet. If you want to call in, 646-200-4169 and press 1. Let us know that you want to talk. Hi, Michael.
Hi, sweetie. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We are still in St. Petersburg, Florida. We finished our last workshop in the series last night here, and so we're on our way to Kissimmee near Orlando, where we'll be for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll be heading to Pompano, Florida. So if you're in the Pompano area, check out our website, and you'll find a link to a PDF where you can download a whole week of information about a week of workshops. We'll be doing it at Unity of Pompano, first week in December. So maybe a little bit of traffic noise in the background here. We're on the road, so we had to stop somewhere to get internet connection. And the invitation for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, is an invitation to be a part of bringing about a world that lives in peace and eliminating war. Our thesis is that the cause of war is the hostility and fear in each one of us that we refuse to own, that we tend to and want to, whenever it comes up, blame somebody else for. So our invitation to you today is to be responsible for one irritation, upset, anger, whatever it is, that is inside of you that you may be blaming someone else for, and to choose to learn to forgive that. Forgiveness has nothing to do with our culture's false definition, letting other people off the hook for what's going on inside of us. That is no part in the forgiveness process. Forgiveness is a tool with which you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged in you. So our invitation is that you pick one issue in your life that you're willing today and every day. What will happen is we will create a critical mass shift on planet Earth, and there will be an end to war. And we will bring about a world that's focused in peace in human life. And if you have a question about what human life is, rather than ask me, just go hold a newborn child. You'll know what it is. And that's what we're here to establish on planet Earth. And so that's our Memorial Day and Veterans Day invitation. Beyond that, we are delighted to be here to show you. By the way, if you're not familiar with the forgiveness tool, please go to our website, whyagain.com, whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. That link will take you to a number of additional links, and the first 5 will give you the whole story on how to go inside yourself and remove all hostility and fear. So we welcome you to the show. We're glad you're here with us today. Jeanie, do we have any callers? Do we have anything happening in the chat room?
We don't have any callers yet with their hand up. There's a few people on the switchboard. There's a couple people in the chat room, but nobody's saying anything. So calling number again is 646-200-4169. I'm not going to talk a whole lot because there's a lot of people talking in the little shop where I am. So I'll turn it back over to you.
So, David, welcome to the show. How are things in Missouri?
It's a wintry type of day, although it's a beautiful day. It is the sun is shining, and it's pretty cool out today. It's in the 30s, low 40s, and it's wonderful. It's going well here. And one of the as you were talking about bringing peace on earth and creating that field of energy. I had the thought yesterday about the resistance and the resistor of doing this work, and the thought that I would invite to discuss today is, why do we lie? Why is it that telling the truth seems to be so difficult? And how did we learn how to lie? How did we really get into this program? And what's the benefit, or kind of what's the payoff to lying, and what's the rip-off to lying, or avoiding the truth, or withholding the truth? So I thought that might be something that we could talk about. Why do people lie, Michael?
Well, I think that's a good question. And my input would be that at some point in our lives when we told the truth, we were somehow or other hurt or abused. And so when telling the truth comes forward, that hurt or abuse that's been unresolved, that is our disease, creates a field of unsafety inside of us. And then we're sure that the unsafety that we're feeling, and if you're feeling it, it's because it's inside of you. It is not outside of you. It's all denial, dissociation, and projection to pretend that it's outside of you. But when you're feeling unsafe, it's because there's something going on inside that can be resolved. And that something will be projected, and or there will be behaviors done that will help to make sure that the belief that it's unsafe will be perpetuated. So someone who says, well, this person isn't safe, will tend to make sure that nobody around them is safe by goading, abusing, verbally, beating up on, so that a person gets into a space where they're not safe. And so the first step, the first key in the game, I think, is when you ask somebody why they said something terrible to someone else, some sort of a put down, you ask them that, they'll say, well, it was because they deserved it. And my offering is, no, it's not because they deserved it. It's because I have in me pain that I'm unwilling to face and unwilling to resolve. And when I project that, then I form bodies that don't deserve the love of God, that don't deserve my love, like I believe I don't deserve the presence of my love, and I'll step into some form of abuse of them. And when we do that, the major effect, the biggest effect is that we leave our relationships. We point the finger at other people for leaving, but when I'm not telling the truth, I've left my relationship. I'm not there. And so when one comes out raging and screaming at somebody, saying, well, you just aren't safe enough for me to tell the truth to, well, it's kind of hard for most people, unless you're really conscious, and I don't know too many people that are that conscious, to hold the space for that kind of abuse. And so it's kind of a self-perpetuating prophecy that, okay, the world's not safe, so I'll strike out at this person so they're angry enough or upset enough that they're not safe. And see, I proved that it's not safe. And so when we get safe enough to tell the truth, we actually get the opportunity to show up in our relationships. When we're not, we're in pain. And, of course, because we dissociate from that pain, we got somebody to blame for that pain, too. It's all everybody else's fault. Yes, I lived a life of turmoil and trauma and insanity, but here, now I am today, and it's nothing to do with what I've had happen to me or what I've done in the past. It's all to do with you in my face, and it's all your fault. So That's why the first line in the commitment that we do in the Healing Through Relationships workshop is, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth. If your truth is told abusively, you will tend to get whacked back. That's just the way it works. If your truth is told lovingly, gently, and respectfully, then instead of the self-fulfilling prophecy of, see, nobody in the world is safe, it's all their fault, what happens is, as the truth is told lovingly, gently, and respectfully, then the tendency is to create loving, gentle, respectful responses and support instead of sending support away. So that'd be some of my thoughts on it. Does that stir anything for you?
Well, I agree with what you're referring to, what you're talking about. And, my biggest challenge is always for me to recognize when I am telling a lie, whether it's to someone else or to myself. And, as I was reading this morning, the As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, then, it talks about the secrets, that the secrets are what it is that really keeps us and keeps me from being who it is that I truly am. Being conscious of what I'm feeling, and when I'm in anything other than the truth, as you talk about, then am I feeling anything less than love, other than love? If it's hostility or fear or sadness, grief, disappointment, any of that. And that's such a big challenge to take on, that the mind has been so programmed and programmed itself through teachings and trainings that the lie, and I heard a real good one the other day, that, I tell myself a lie long enough, well, then it becomes the truth. My mind believes that it's the truth. So this work and doing the worksheets each day and using all of the other tools, as you say in the intensive, well, what do I do when this goes on? What do I do when this happens? What do I do when I'm feeling this way? Well, it's all of the above. And that commitment to, as you talked about the commitment, I promise to trust myself enough. I promise to trust someone else enough to tell the truth. Then just getting into that habit of that. And, to me, it's all really about a habit of thought. And the thoughts that I hold is what it is that I'm going to manifest out there. So, I think it's certainly I'm in alignment with what you're commenting and saying, and the challenge is always doing it, that level of willing it. So have we stirred any questions or curiosity out there, comments from anyone from this little opening discussion?
Well, of course, David, the fact that most people do what they feel like doing becomes a major part of the problem. And the idea of actually living in our human lives is such a novel idea in our culture, because we tend to play out of it. And one of the things that happens is once we create this non-being state, this state of hostility and fear, all of the skills that we've developed, if we've got this, ability to sneak in an attack, to turn a thought into something destructive on somebody, that's what the mind will do. And the way you can tell, because the mind will always project that it's somebody else doing it, the way you can tell is who's in pain. If there's pain, then that pain is about what's going on inside of me, and of course I'll produce a literal image. Most people don't believe this thing that the bodies they're looking at in their minds are made up of stuff going on inside of them. They actually think they're experiencing somebody outside of them, and the truth is that we're not. And Jeanie tells me that we've got a caller. So caller, give us a name and where are you calling from?
I think it's Julie.
Yeah, it's
Hey, Julie.
How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How about you?
I am blessed and highly favored, too. However, I would like some support in a issue I'm having, and it does go along with truth. And it's kind of amazing because, I can feel all this anxiety in my chest, and I've been burping and for the last week or two, and it all goes back to when, I had a fellow come and he was doing plumbing, and he did quite a bit of plumbing for me, and it got, to a stage where, he had another call that he felt was more important to make, and he's behind because he had some health challenges and so on, and I supported him as best I could. And then I keep getting him promising he's going to come back, and, and what's resonating is it's kind of resonating like a lie, because he says, I'll be there Thursday, and then he doesn't show up. And this has been going on for almost 2 months now, and I do a worksheet at least every day on that particular issue, and I realize I know it's my creation because I'm feeling it, and it's more than just him not showing up. It resonates my belief in men, and it resonates, people keeping their word, and all this other stuff, and it's like, and it also resonates like not telling me the truth. Like if he would just say, the truth is, I've got to get this and this done, and I'm really keeping an eye on the weather because I know your pipes are all exposed underneath your building, and, we've had freezing weather at night, and so he goes, I'm really keeping an eye on that. If there would just be some kind of communication that I would, feel like we're really on the same page or something, but I just feel kind of like left out there. And I don't know really what it's surfacing for me, except that like a lot of bells are ringing, but again, it goes back to like what David was saying is just tell me the truth, I do feel I would feel more comfortable if at least a communication was happening. He promised to call me last night. He promised to call me a couple of other times, and I've received notes, and I'm waiting for him to, move forward with it. And then I also feel like, gee, should I work towards finding somebody else? But there's nobody else that's really a plumber in the whole county that's as qualified as he is. And so I kind of feel, I don't know, kind of left out there.
So
I just want calling for support for healing.
Cool. Well, you have my support, and I guess a couple of questions would be, is there ever a time in your life where you didn't show up? The pain, the burping, the stuff that's going on in your body, of course, isn't about him. It's about what's going on in you. And seeing as how one of the main things that's resonating this is him not showing up, is there ever a time in your life where you weren't showing up and being the truth of who you are? Does that resonate anything for you?
It doesn't consciously resonate anything for me. I realize, that would be very valid. It doesn't. I haven't been able to, focus on this is what I did, or I participated in this. In fact, some of the symptoms I'm having are symptoms like my dad had, the digestion problems, and my hips have been hurting me. My mom broke both hips. I'm thinking, am I dealing with something genetic or what? But maybe I'm not showing up. Yeah,
it sounds like there might be a genetic component to it, so you might go back and, internally visualize your dad and have a conversation with him. Or ask him about, if you look back, remembering some of the processing that your dad's done in the intensives and that you've done around him, is to, you look at, if I remember correctly, his mom died at 8 years of age, and so that might resonate the issue of not showing up. Here I am, a kid, and here my parent was around for a while, and then they've disappeared, and it sounds like this guy has been around for a while, and now he's disappeared. And so the the issue might be one of abandonment. So maybe some worksheets around abandonment and some worksheets talking to Dad about how his mother was there for a time period, and then, we don't know how he was told that she passed, but he may well have been in that state of, where's my mom? She's not showing up. Where is she? And, of course, an 8-year-old boy whose mother passes, however it comes down, is going to feel pretty traumatized and perhaps abandoned. Does that resonate, you think?
No. Both my father's mother and father were dead by the time he was 7. And so, as far as abandonment issues, certainly that would be there if that's how he felt. He's really a pretty courageous man.
Someone in the chat room says, sounds like perhaps an invitation for somebody to fail you.
An invitation for what?
Someone to fail you.
Fail
to
me.
let you down, to fail doing what they say they're going to do?
I do feel let down. I guess it's because, I do feel let down. I think it's because he says, I'm going to do this, and then he doesn't show. So his word to me is not good. So I'm doing worksheets on, that my word is good, and there's something to that. I agree with you.
And have you ever been in a space where you've abandoned someone?
Oh, I'm sure that in my early years I could have been probably more present for people. Absolutely, I'm sure of that. I've worked on that, working towards really keeping my word and building that as a character asset quality.
What's happening with your breath right now?
I'm breathing. Only thing I can tell you that is my upper torso just feels like this nervousness, this like floating energy that, like I said, I've been really burping a lot, and I'm not used to doing that. Even Patrick said, you have something going on, and I said, I don't know. And my stomach feels like more like acid, which would be, the reason I say that is I'm not used to having the stomach pain, and then I'll feel like I have some sort of stomach pain or something like that. It's mild, but I can sense the energy.
Well, I would probably
Feels
assume
like
it's how the main things are being abandoned and no communication. That sounds like where the deepest work would be, and maybe, go into kind of a meditation and internally have a conversation with your dad about how he felt at 7 when he was alone, and then I know that, and who knows what it was like for the kid of whatever age he was, 7 or 8, to get on a boat by himself and come to America from Germany. That just had to be huge for a kid to do, and especially your dad who's so quiet. That maybe just having a conversation with him and asking him what that was about, what that brought up for him, and what kind of things he needed to work through in that regard might just tie right in here.
Right. Okay.
Especially seeing how this experience for you is so physical. If it weren't physical, it'd be, it's current events probably, but obviously to resonate some deep, deep stuff.
Right. I'm definitely, and again, that feeling of being let down, like that one's word is not good. In other words, I trust that what you're saying is true, and you're going to keep your word. So I really need to work on keeping my word and, what I say, that, I mean what I say. I really worked on that in my classroom because I thought that really keeps credibility, and I think credibility is important, that I do mean what I say. So, there's something definitely energetically going on. That's why I'm really calling for support. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, you definitely and absolutely have our support, and we hold the space.
Okay.
keep tuning
Absolutely.
in. If any other thoughts come forward, I'll certainly pick up the phone and call you and offer those thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Have a blessed one.
Love you,
All right,
Julie.
we'll hold the space for you, Julie, and appreciate you.
Thank you.
Michael, we do have another caller, and I think it might be Richard. It's a New York number. But before we do that, in the chat room, a person asked, do we keep people in our lives that are easy to blame? And another person answered back and said, no, we tend to separate ourselves from others when we feel an unnatural guilt about ourselves. And then the first person says, it sounds like the friend on the phone was doing that. In other words, keeping someone in her life so that she could blame them for what was going on. So you want to address both of those people and looking at it in that respect?
Sure. Well, my thought would be that where Julie is looking, as opposed to blame there, I think pretty responsibly saying, here's a fact, here's an event, this guy isn't showing up. I don't hear that as blame, that's just a fact. Where the blame would come in is if she started to move into it, he's an SOB, and look what he's done, and look what he's doing to me, and look. As opposed to that, her conversation is one of more searching for responsibility. This is bringing a lot up for me. What do I need to deal with? What do I need to heal? To me, that's a whole different game than blame. But I would say absolutely that people tend to keep people around, that they can practice their insanely learned skills and their blame on. In fact, over the years, I've watched 4 different things happen when somebody starts to change what's going on inside of them, when they start to really do their work. And one of those things that I've watched people do is, the first one is that they see somebody making changes that are awesome and wonderful and powerful for that person, and they're right there with them. And wow, that's exciting. I see that's really working for you. It's really fabulous to watch you doing it, and I want some of what you've got. That's the first one. The second one is that, I can see that what you're doing is really working for you, and that's awesome, and I support you, but I'm not really interested. The third one is, and this would be the case where I've got somebody that's easy for me to pick on, easy for me to puke on, easy for me to blame. I say I want them to change, but if they start to change, the tendency will be to crank the heat up as high as possible so that this person is driven back into the state where they do the same old behavior so they can keep having somebody to put it off on. That's a power person issue. And when we were kids, if we had a power person that blamed us for what was going on in their lives, yes, that pattern will be established, and most people will protest that this person does this to them. They're in the blame game, but then they'll protest much louder when that person stops doing that, because now they've got nobody to blame. They don't have a scapegoat. So there are 3 of the results I've seen, and then the 4th result that I've seen is that when somebody really starts to do their work and change out of the old hostility and fear mode and move into a more loving mode, the person who needs the hostility and fear-based person in their lives to blame, to fight with, to practice their insane skills on their rage, their fear, their nasty comments, etc., their put-downs, the way their power person did to them, then they leave to find somebody else. Like, I'm out of here. If you're not going to play the game the way I want you to, if you're not going to be the person that I can practice all of my insanely learned skills on, then I don't want anything to do with you. So that's my experience of what happens when people don't do their work. Is, they love to have somebody as a scapegoat. So, Jeanie, we've got a caller. Is it Richard from 607?
It's a 607. I'm not sure if it's Richard. Hi there.
It's definitely Richard. So
hey,
how
young
are
man.
you guys today?
We're good. Enjoying a beautiful day in St. Petersburg, Florida. A little breezy, probably about 70 degrees and sunny.
That's great and wonderful. So, I don't know, I had 2 things I wanted to talk about. I mean, certainly your last discussion about the power person and all that stuff brought up I did a worksheet today on an event that happened when I was in college, where I was in there's a professor-student relationship, and I was in an organic chemistry class, and I was absolutely fascinated by all the colors. And I went up to ask him about, what's going on here? I've never seen this before. And he marched me up before the class and basically humiliated me in front of the class, saying, this isn't what this class is about. You should be focusing on this and not that, and just totally humiliated me. And I realized that...
Okay, Richard, did he totally humiliate you, or did he show you your humiliation?
Well, obviously he showed me my humiliation. That's the point I'm trying to make is, he showed...
Humiliating unless I have humility in me.
Right. Well, embarrassment, I was totally embarrassed in front of the class, and my thoughts were, why did you do that? I was just curious, and I guess my thing about part of my thing was not, I wanted to avoid such a thing by not ever revealing my curiosity again, about life in general. And
you probably had a professor who his weakness, it sounds like, was likely being questioned. Like, how dare you question me? I run the show here. And, in the Codependence Workshop, we talk about the pseudo-solutions of the non-being mind. One of the pseudo-solutions of the non-being mind is I have to be in total control of everything, because if I'm not in total control of everything, somebody can get close enough to me and show me my pain. And when I'm isolated and on my own, I'm good at keeping my pain hidden so I can pretend I don't have any. So it sounds like you came close enough to that issue or something similar to that to him and him. That would be one possibility. And so what does he do? He has a way of punishing that is just like what his power person did. And if you go back and we're able to speak to that guy again, I guarantee here's what his power person would do to him when the stress was up and the chips were down. He would find a way to create a center shot and embarrass him. And so his way of punishing and controlling you is, well, I'll just embarrass the hell out of you and you'll never question me again. That would be a very likely scenario. And of course, the opportunity for you is, well, now I'm going to forgive my embarrassment, my very capacity to be embarrassed. Have you ever seen some people who just don't even have a capacity to be embarrassed? They can do the most ridiculous things, and there's no disturbance whatsoever. So I would suggest that you get to the point where you could do the most ridiculous thing ever, and there would be no embarrassment in you. Now, of course, you don't have to choose to do the most ridiculous things ever, but you can let go of that fear-based reality called embarrassment. And then the other one might be around being controlled, because it sounds like this man used his power and his position to control you and get his point across. Does that click anything for you?
Certainly does. Certainly, it brought up all the issues you were talking about. I mean, the power person issue and all that stuff, and the thought that, this person probably had this happen to him in his life where somebody treated him the same way. Certainly all those thoughts came up for me when I was doing the worksheet, So, it's certainly something that I obviously need to forgive, because I'm sure that it runs rampant in all my a lot of things that's happened to me since then. That's one of the issues that's been kept coming up for me. So certainly it hit a major spot for me.
So that's one that you definitely have a psychic megaphone message about and keep calling forward to learn that lesson, eh?
Yes. Sir.
That's good thing. And, in that circumstance, just to take it, let's move from the codependence work for a minute to responsibility communication. If as a young man you'd been fully conscious and aware of the dynamic that was going on, what might have looked like a resolution in that situation might have been, gee, Mr. Professor, I'm feeling some embarrassment coming forward, because I feel like you need to punish me or put me on the spot, or it looks to me like you're doing that. And what I have is some fear about being put on the spot like this. I'd like to clean up my fear, and I'd like to invite you to look at why it is that you're putting me up here, because I asked a simple, reasonable question that you could be my mentor and express and explain to me, even if it's not the topic of this class. Or you could quietly say, we'll discuss it after class, or, I'm not really interested in that question. So that would be the kind of responsibility communication that would come from being, rather than tapping into the fear that was already there and then just, closing down and being quiet, to actually speak up and speak from a space of power and connectedness and love about what's yours and what you observe as the possibility of being his, and aim to bring resolution. Would open the space for him to heal, you to heal, and the whole world gets better because a conflict is taking place and been resolved. That's one of the most important keys, and one of the beauties of this work is that when we can communicate responsibly, we can take a situation that previously would create pain, separation, and destroy relationships, and actually take exactly the same conflict, and by being conscious and bringing forth the space of active love and responsibility communication, we can actually create healing for both parties in that situation. Now, of course, he may not have been interested in healing, so his response might have been to crank the heat up in you, and at that point, a responsibility communication response there would be something like, sir, I noticed that I asked a question that perhaps puts you on the spot, and it looks like you're ready to really reach out and lash out in punishment. And what I'm inviting you to do is to change that behavior, to do something different, and to really, truly communicate with me about what's going on. If you don't answer that question, it's okay to just not answer that question. That's an okay thing. You have every right to that. But excuse me, sir, you don't have the right to put me on this spot. And, of course, that's not usually the kind of conscious awareness that a young man in college is going to have, especially with a college professor. But ultimately, and I'm just bringing that forward for our listening audience, that's what resolution would look like of situations like this when we come across them.
Well, certainly that's a good way to, in your mental mind, to go back over the situation and see it being resolved in that manner, so that it no longer does present an issue in your own life again. So those are very, very good suggestions for helping to mentally resolve it and put it aside. The other thing I wanted to the reason I called originally was since Julie was on the line, and this is a thing about, I think I told you guys this spring when I was out there that I was going to be bringing a cat back. It was my niece's cat and all that stuff, and he's been an interesting cat, and I just wanted, basically I'm touching on the topic of how our emotions resonate with animals, especially cats. I'm a huge cat fan like Julie is, and very tuned into cats. This cat this morning had jumped up on my I have a what do you call it, it's basically a shelf, and I had some pictures up there, and I've been trying to train him to get down by squirting him. So I start telling him to get down, and he's not even paying attention. It's like no awareness that I'm even around. And finally, he realizes I'm there with the squirt gun, and he jumps down. And I happen to realize this cat was sitting there looking at a picture of his former family, their wedding picture. It was like, oh my God, here he was seeing his former family, wishing he was there with them. And,
wow, that's pretty aware for a cat.
That's pretty aware. But what was more, what happened after that was even more stunning. Is I found myself later on in deep grief, my own self in deep grief and agony and pain and crying out because of a loss. And it was like, oh my God, I'm experiencing this cat's pain and loss right now. And that's how, I couldn't believe how much that was resonating inside me. So this cat was resonating that deep grief and pain and loss. And it was, I didn't make the connection until I realized that he had been seeing this picture. So I put the picture away because I didn't want him jumping up on this vanity again. So afterwards I decided, you know what, I'm going to get that picture back out again and see what he does when I put the picture in front of him. Sure enough, the moment I put the picture in front of him, he was immediately looking at it and trying to, touch it, feel it, smell it. So
yeah.
It was pretty amazing event, So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there and show you and basically talk about how our emotions resonate with animals so deep as well.
For sure. And, one of the things I noticed years ago when I had a private practice was that people would have animals that would die of diseases they had 3 or 4 years before they did. And I've asked a couple of veterinarians over the years if they've ever noticed that, and they're like, oh, my God, yes, I have seen that. So one little thought, though, was I'd offer you weren't feeling the cat's loss, that the cat feeling loss resonated the tuning fork of loss in you.
Right.
So you might want to do some worksheets around losses that you've experienced in your world. And my thought would be get a photocopy of the picture made and put it in the cat's sleeping space.
That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Give him some comfort. Yeah, that's awesome. But that's pretty cool that a cat has that kind of recognition and tapping in. That's very cool.
Yeah, he's a wonderful cat. He's very talkative. He's an expressive cat. Unbelievable. And anyway, that's all I had to talk about today, and hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Okay, Richard, thank you. You have an awesome day, too. Blessings.
All right.
And we do have another caller.
Awesome. Where are we calling from? Give us a name.
Area 702. You are on the air.
Good morning, Michael.
Well, hey there, young man. How are you?
I'm good. It's still morning here. I think it's afternoon where you're at.
It is afternoon where we are.
Well, this is Stephen Andraki, and they have some interesting things to report.
Awesome.
We had a group last night, and one of the most transformational situations that I've seen, I know that you have many of them, and I guess I'm going to hope that all of the people who are listening who are not sure how this is going to work, I can assure you that it does, and you can do so much of it on your own. Was a young woman who has had a horrendous life, and she may be listening, and she may be calling in sometimes. She's called in the past, who had a problem with drug addiction. She was using the prescription narcotics to help with all of her pain, and we got her on the right course, and she read the book twice. She's done over 100 worksheets, and she will tell you that her life has turned completely around from where it was before. And she did most of it on her own. It's just with a little bit of assistance from me and a few work groups, but most of it has been all on her own. And it's possible if you see that that there is a choice that you have to make, and you put the commitment to do it. She has a binder with all of the important things from the book and all the important things for doing your worksheets and all of her worksheets, and she was very organized. She packed it, and she kept with it, and she will admit that she is a completely different person than she was before she started the whole process.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's fabulous. For those who don't know Dr. Andraki is in Pahrump, Nevada, and has every other week a support group there in Pahrump working with the tools at their medical offices, Partners Medical Center, and also a support group in Spanish at their office in Las Vegas. So if you're in Las Vegas or you're in Pahrump, Nevada, jump on our website. There are flyers there for the support groups, Spanish and English. It's just fabulous. So I really, Stephen, appreciate and acknowledge the work that you're doing, the amount of energy and investment you're putting into people just out of the goodness of your heart. I know that these support groups and all this extra work you do with people isn't being paid for, but it's in terms of money. But certainly it is awesome to watch that kind of change take place, isn't it?
It's completely transformational for a person's life. And as I talked to her last night, she actually led the group with a gentleman last night and worked through a worksheet. And I was just completely amazed at how well she understood the worksheet. Very little practice from me or from the support group or necessarily from anything. She learned it, and she learned it extremely well. So it's possible. The other thing is
before you go on to the next thought, Stephen, are you saying that she led the support group last night?
Yeah, for more than half of it, I was busy.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And it was.
I love it.
We have two people that picked this up so quickly and so amazingly that it's stunning to me how well they've done. And it takes that commitment and to do it and to stay with it and to continue with it no matter what. And we talked about her, but we had an older gentleman there, and he considered it reasonable to come and to listen to what I had to say because he had his own issues to deal with, and he was I think 70, and she worked him through an issue. But when it came down to it, we talked about how she had changed the family and her daughter, how she had completely changed the relationship with her daughter, completely from where she was in the past and pain and working through this. And the gentleman was able to see this. So it was an amazing session. And I'm sure you may have seen this instance in the worksheet, but he picked something that bothered him on the news in the morning. And what he really wanted on the worksheet, his goal was that he wanted the gentleman who had extorted money from another person to act like Jesus would have acted. And what an interesting concept that you would put as your goal. And you probably see where this is going, right? He already sees that he expects something from somebody else that he's not doing himself because he's already judging somebody. And I thought that was an amazing revelation because I think that's what we all want. We want somebody to act differently or act like the masters have, and we have such difficulty in doing it ourselves. And it doesn't become obvious until you really look at it, until you go through the worksheet and find out what you really expect from somebody, and it's really what we should probably be expecting from ourselves. Hello?
Michael, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
I say surely it is done with smoke and mirrors, and the people we are most upset about are the people who are doing what it is that we have judgments about ourselves about. So that's fabulous.
So it was a terrific small group last night, and I wanted to just let you know that we're still with the program and still making changes one person at a time, and we've had some people who've embraced it and have completely changed.
Well, that's just really something. I'm so glad that we came out and spent the time there that we did, and we, of course, are of support in every way we can be as the process goes on. And if you have a chance a little after the show, if you give me a call, I have somebody out there that you might want to contact that I think might be ready to do some work.
Very good. Well, Michael and Jeanie, it's always a pleasure. And with Thanksgiving, I constantly have to remind people to give thanks for the things that we have, and it seems to be lost. The message seems to be lost that we should be doing that on a daily basis. I know we have the Memorial Day, but Thanksgiving and appreciation is certainly an important concept in our life as well.
Thank you, Stephen. We appreciate you and are honored to share the planet with you.
Thank you very much, Michael and Jeanie. Take care. Bye.
Okay, tell Claudia we said hello and send our love.
Sure will. Bye.
Jeanie?
Nobody else has their hand up, and the chat room's kind of quiet right now. So continue on. We've got about 9 minutes.
Okay, is Dr. Tim with us?
He is.
He is.
I am here.
Well, let's say hello to Dr. Tim. How do you be, sir? And do you have any thoughts about any of the discussions that have gone down so far?
Oh, yeah, lots and lots. I'm just, as Dr. Andraki, I'm just very grateful for the tools and to have support like this phone call, and to be blessed to have people do big work to change their lives on a regular basis. And I was thinking about the big shifts we've had in the past few weeks, where people, it's a similar story to what Dr. Andraki was saying, that people who have had long abusive, disruptive patterns in their lives have picked up the tools and applied them to their lives, and now they routinely come in with testimonials about how much better, how much more loving, how much less stressed their response is to the events in their life, even if the events haven't changed. We have, I think I discussed it already, the wonderful shift we had, and somebody had a very powerful physical release in doing a worksheet on Tuesday in the support group. And I had a couple people, additional people through this week getting physical shifts, pain being released. And I did want to say thanks to Julie for calling in, and I'm going to hold her in a space of love and send love and hope that she uncovers what it is that's stirring in her and releases it. So that's about it. I'm just glad to be able to have the time to be on the call. I was on yesterday, and you had come back to me and asked something, and I gave a beautiful dissertation, only to realize I'd been disconnected. So.
Well, are there any of those thoughts you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, I can't quite remember. It was a summary kind of a statement near the end of the call, but we're doing well here. We continue to do the work. The support group is going to be moving from Crystal Lake up to Woodstock, and the Unity Church has their new building there, and that's exciting for some, and it's going to present challenges for others. So I'm sure it'll be good fuel for additional worksheets for those who won't be able to make the extra travel distance, and if we're lucky, we'll have yet another group grow up out of it.
Yeah, maybe somebody who's part of the group will continue the Crystal Lake group, and that one continues up in Woodstock. And if you or when you get the specifics of it, if you'd let us know so that we can put it on the website so people would be able to tap in, that would be fabulous.
Yep, I'll be happy to do that. I'm in the process of composing the email to the group list and letting people understand what the options are, and that I'd be happy to support them if somebody does want to continue a group in the Crystal Lake or other area. I did talk to the people who are running the Cary group, or I talked to David, and Dave Womack. And Carrie is back from England, and she's been to the group a couple times, but she's doing more traveling, and he's running the group. So we'll be offering that to people, and we'll send you the email that goes out so you can keep posted on what's happening.
Awesome. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Sharing the planet with you, too. And Jeanie tells me we've got another caller.
Yes, area code 502. You're on the air.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, 502.
This is Barbara.
Oh, hey, Barbara, welcome.
My family is coming around now, and they're getting supportive, and I'm hoping to be down there by January 1st at the latest. So is that still okay?
Oh. Very cool. How are your worksheets going?
So much better. I finally got through your books. See, I didn't have internet access, so it was really hard to understand what to do at first. But I've read your book now, and what I did was I copied chapter 24 and put it in its own little document. And every time I do a worksheet, I do it with that to help me. You know, I just put in whatever I'm going through behind Richard's. You know, Richard's working on his sister Amy, but I just work right along, and it's so much. I'm having very, very powerful worksheets now because I understand more what I'm doing.
Well, that's fabulous. And did you say you do not have internet access now?
I have to go to McDonald's to get it, but I'm not looking for jobs anymore. I told the unemployment people that I had a job, but I couldn't. It involved moving to Missouri, and so now I'm not obligated to be out looking for jobs all the time. So I spend a lot of time at McDonald's and go through the work.
Very cool.
I wanted to ask one question. I limp. I have a hip that bothers me, and I limp on it. Do you have any idea what emotion?
You have a which? Barbara, I didn't hear you.
I have a hip that I limp when I walk. Can you hear me?
Okay, you have a limp that you're working on? Uh-huh.
And I was wondering what emotion would be tied into a hip problem. I mean, if you don't know, that's fine, but I was just wondering if, you know.
Hips tend to reflect support issues and flexibility. So you might look at how you support yourself and how you take care of yourself, and then look at what kind of flexibility you have. And that will tend to give you some insight, maybe some worksheets around that might help to open that a little bit.
Okay. Well, that seems to be my big physical problem right now, and I just didn't know what it would be tied to. But anyway, I'm really excited. I'm finally getting the hang of do we have time for me to ask one more question? Michael?
Say it again. I'm having a little difficulty hearing you. Say it again.
Do we have time for one more question?
We do, yes.
Hello? Do we have time for one more question?
Go ahead. We do.
Okay. Some of my worksheets, it's where I don't like myself. I really don't like being Barbara. And so when I get down to the part where I'm supposed to bring active love, is it like I just love myself anyway, even though I don't like myself?
Well, Barbara, here's the thing, and we've only got a few seconds to answer that question. If you want to call in tomorrow, we could continue with the discussion. But the truth is you can't love yourself anyway. The idea is that you get to the experience of being a human being, which is love. So love isn't something we do, it's what we are. And what you're really saying when you say I don't love myself is I don't approve of myself. That's a disapproval issue. And so experiencing yourself as the human life and the human being that you are is the real object of this work. And that's the object for each of us. And as we learn to do that, we get to create the best year yet of our eternal lives. We're going to have to close the show out. We invite you to please bring a stranger tomorrow, and we appreciate getting to be with you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.